Hi, everyone. I thought this might be a nice time to check in with you. A lot of people I know are pretty upset, actually freaking out about what's happening politically in our country. And I thought I might offer you some points to stay calm and clear and in your right mind and actually make a contribution to what's happening instead of going under with upset. So I have a few stories I'd like to tell you that are leading up to my point here. I have a friend named Joanie, whose father was a war veteran and he suffered from PTSD. And he was prone to violent outbursts unexpectedly. One night he took a gun and lined up his wife and five children against the wall. He said, I'm going to kill you and then I'm going to kill myself. Well, of course, everyone was freaking out except for Joanie, who chose to lunge toward her father and say, Oh, no, you're not, Daddy. And she hugged him. And feeling his child's embrace, he dropped the gun and broke into tears and fell to the floor, and the family did what they did to comfort him. And my message from my lesson from that particular incident is that even when the room is filled with fear and terror, one person's innocent perception, innocent vision, innocent intention can offset that. Joni was the only one in the room who broke through that nightmare because she loved her dad and she wasn't afraid and she decided she would do something about it. So, in a sense, that's our role these days is to be the one person in the crowd who keeps our head on straight. Now, there's a farming analogy. What I heard was that if a farmer has a corral of skittish horses, he will take a mule and put it in the corral with the horses because the mule is a very stable, grounded, calm animal compared to horses. And the energy from that mule tends to bring the horses down and calm them down. So, in a sense, we are called upon to be the mule. And I'm not speaking politically, I'm not talking about the Democratic Party, I'm talking about the mule animal. We have to be a source of well-being when other people have missed theirs. What's that Rudyard Kipling poem? If you can keep your head on straight while everyone else is losing theirs, that's the key, isn't it? So, Course in Miracles tells us that there's real only two emotions, human emotions, fear and love. And you're always in one or the other. And the only answer to fear is love. And I don't mean mushy love. I mean a sense of trust, a sense of well-being, a sense of wholeness, a sense of connection to spirit. And I'm counting on the idea that if you're watching me in this video, then you have some sense of what we call a spiritual path, that you believe on some level that there's a higher power, that there are universal principles that govern life, even beyond the quote laws that people make, and that as spiritual beings, when we stay connected to our source with a capital S, then we have access to wisdom and power and wholeness and strength that we don't have when we go into fear. A friend of mine was living in Los Angeles in the late 80s when the Rodney King riots broke out. There was an adverse jury verdict related to an African American man, and the black community was rioting and looting. And she was living in that area, and I called her, "How you doing?" She said, "Well, I'm just holding the light." So she decided that while other people were freaking out, she would just stay in the light. Wherever she went, she would stay in the light, and she would be a positive influence on the group instead of going down with everybody else. Um, Gandhi said, "The pure love of one person can offset the hatred of millions." And we can reframe that to say, the pure confidence or faith or trust or well-being of one person can offset the fear of millions. And my message to you today is that you and I have to be that person. We can't join the crowd and upset. Ernest Holmes, who founded Science of Mind, talked about race thought. Not black or white race, but the race, the human race. And he said that over the world, there's a big cloud of dark thought that's generated by people who are afraid. And when you tap into that cloud, you actually become part of it. And he said we have to offset that negative race thought by divine thought, by higher thought. And the idea is if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So it's extremely important that you and I refuse to have sympathetic vibrations. By sympathetic, I mean that if you, this thing called sympathetic resonance, if you take a tuning fork and you hit it at the A note, and there's another tuning fork in the room, that will start to vibrate and sound the A note just like the one you hit. It's called sympathetic resonance. And so this can work for us or against us. It works against us when one person or many people are upset and you start to match their energy by going into their frequency with them, and then you're just one more person of the problem. It works in our benefit when you become a force for healing, and it's like the A note on the tuning fork, it sends out a set of vibrations, and you tend to invite other people to lift their energy and meet you there. So just like you have to be the mule, you have to be the tuning fork that is tuned to the higher vibration of well-being. And I know it's not easy because, we tend to be compassionate people. We care about our country. We care about the world. We want to see character and integrity succeed. And, when it appears that that's not happening, it can be very disturbing, to a person of value and character and goodwill to see strange things happening that appear to not be coming from goodwill. And so, it's anybody who cares is going to be affected at least a little. But the question is, how much do you let it affect you and pull you off of your center? A friend of mine, I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, "Well, how you doing?" He said, "Well, I tend not to watch too much news." He said, "I refuse to torture myself." I thought that was a good expression. And so, we need to know something about what's going on. It's important to be aware. But if you sit at your internet or television and just go down deep rabbit holes of news discussions and upset and fear-based analyses and predictions and, testimonials by people who are victims, and, I mean, there's a certain point at which it ceases to be self-education and it morphs into self-torture. And we all know that tortured people are not especially helpful to society. You have to nurture yourself. And so I want to suggest to you that you do whatever you can to nurture your soul during this particular period. You you step back and you breathe. A lot of you do yoga, you do meditation. You all have your spiritual practice, Course in Miracles, Tai Chi. If you don't have an official spiritual practice, walk in the woods or sit on the beach or watch a funny movie or or breathe or read something uplifting or watch a happy YouTube. Do something that raises your energy to the place where you want to be instead of where you're afraid to be. Now, Nikola Tesla, one of the great scientists of all time, said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. And as spiritual beings, we are more vibrational beings than we are physical. I think you're pretty aware of this, that what's going on inside you is more powerful than what you're doing physically. In fact, what you're doing inside you actually creates and results in what's happening physically. This is why disease has to be healed from the inside out rather than just manipulating symptoms. And so, if you were to define yourself as a vibrational being, which you are, spiritual being, so what would it take for you to live at a high vibration? And I want to tell you that whatever you need to do that is going to be a benefit to your life and your family and your community and the planet. So it's not selfish to relax. It's not selfish to step away from the computer and quit watching the news or quit engaging in discussions of bad news. It's not selfish to say, I refuse to be one of the skittish horses because your, quote, selfishness by stepping back momentarily is your gift to the skittish horses. And I assure you the horses would prefer not to be skittish, but they're involved in their own group mind. You know, one horse gets skittish and the others join them. So it's all about making a stand for who you are and what you believe in. And you know, it's easy to be spiritual during prosperous times and happy times and everything's working out. Sure, sure. But you know, when there's adversity and weird things seem to be happening, that's the time when you have to call forth your spiritual tools and say, I'm going to make a stand for my values. Someone said that man's extremity is God's opportunity. A woman's extremity is God's opportunity. In other words, it's only when we seem to be at the end of our rope and we can't seem to manage what's happening with our ego resources, with our small mind resources, with our fear mind resources, and we say, help. And how many people have I coached who have come to my seminars who they had a crisis. They had a health crisis, a financial crisis, a divorce, a marital crisis, or they lost their job. And it was the scariest time, but for a lot of them, it turned out to be the best time because they had to really dig in and figure out what they were made of. And in many cases, their, their quote crisis moved them in a new direction. And we all know that the Chinese word for crisis is made of two different symbols put together. One is danger, and the other is opportunity. So every crisis is danger, and every crisis is also opportunity. And the ones who emerge from a crisis triumphantly are the ones who scan for the opportunity and go there instead of dwelling in the danger. We're not denying there's danger, that's a fact of life. However, for those who choose to see beyond danger, there's something wonderful. And people who have a health crisis, they change their lifestyle, they change their diet, they drop their stress, they do things that actually improve their life. And that health crisis was the big motivator for them to change their life. How many people I know who have done that? And people who lose their job, they have to get resourceful. And maybe they do the things that they really want to do. I once coached somebody who's, we'll go nameless. He was an accountant. And when I coached him, he had lost 5 accounting jobs. And I asked him a question that was obvious to me, but not to him. Said, do you really want to be an accountant? He said, hell no. What do you want to do? I want to do photography. So we worked on moving him into a photography career. And so sometimes when something goes away, it makes space for something better. You have to really dig into your honesty and ask yourself, who am I really? And what do I really want to be doing with my life? And do I really want to spend my days worrying? Do I want to spend my days commiserating with people who are worried? I don't. I want to be an uplifter. I want to raise the octave of the conversation to a level that's going to extricate people from suffering rather than participating in it with them. Your suffering is not your gift to the world, despite what some of your religions have told you. Your joy is your gift to the world. Your well-being is your gift to the world. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." What does that mean? It means that whatever's going on in the world, if you get to bring your light to it, you're going to change the world. So a lot of you are wondering, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And it's not so much about what you do, it's about what you be. And if you're going to do anything, concentrate less on specific actions, although there might be some specific actions, and concentrate more on your energy. Concentrate more on your state of your mind. Concentrate more on your consciousness. Be the field that other people can come to for comfort. And you have no idea how far that field extends. A Course in Miracles tells us that when you perform a miracle, which means when you choose love over fear, that energy ripples out and you may touch thousands of people you never even hear about. That one act of kindness can make a difference in many lives that you never even know about. So we have our homework, don't we? We all we have our assignment at this moment to be the mule. And again, I'm not talking about democratic mules. I'm talking about a calming, centering, grounded influence that will make first our life better. And then by making our life better, we're in the optimal position to make the lives of other people better. I know you're going to do it. I know we are doing it. I know there's tremendous opportunity here. I know that you're taking it. And so let's just take a final moment here to close our eyes, if you would, with me, and see yourself as a being of light, not so much a physical being, but a being of energy. And you're sending out waves into the world like radio waves or ripples in a pond. And if you see yourself as well and whole and empowered and confident and trusting and sure and secure and safe, so just visualize sending out those waves and ripples and really blessing the people around you. See people around you relaxing and feeling comforted, feeling confident. And the gift to yourself as you send out these waves is you see yourself going deeper and deeper into your wholeness and just watch a little mental movie of the smile on your face and your calmness and your willingness to be whole. And just see yourself perfectly aligned with source. You might consider a pipeline or a lifeline to source energy, however you understand it. God, spirit, truth, love, higher power, universal intelligence. At this very moment, I'll say an affirmation for all of us. At this very moment, I am connected to source. At this very moment, source is guiding me. At this very moment, source is loving me. At this very moment, source is protecting me. And for this, I am deeply grateful. And I trust that somehow my life and the life of our world is unfolding in a way that's going to be healing for lots of people. This is my intention. This is my mission. This is my purpose. I do this in co-creation with higher power. And so it is. Okay, I hope this has been helpful today. I'll check in with you again before too long, and I wish you a beautiful day.